probably already been done before, but if they made a show about the Carpenter, Clay Guida's life, they probably call it Clay Carpenter. Can't quit, won't quit. And the guy is more active than ever, hitting his age 41 season. He's going to be taking on gifted Rafa Garcia, the former Combate champ. Rafa's on a run. Clay's on a run. Both guys looking to pick up their second straight win. And Matt, for Clay Guida, you go back a couple of fights. He's taking on Leonardo Santos, my guy. And he almost gets finished in the first round. So bad. But the referee keeps him in it. The second round, my guy. Santos is completely out of it. And Clay takes over and picks up the second round finish win. He goes out. He fights Claudio Puelles. We said before the fight, Clay, don't go for a takedown. But Clay Guida goes for that takedown. He gets knee barred by...
One of the more fun submissions you'll ever see, just because, like, the way it happened, Clay's on top, and then, whoop, no, he's not.
He gets beaten by Claudio Puelles in the first round, but Guida's last time out against Scott Holtzman. I know it's a split decision win on his record, but Clay Guida looked great in that fight against Scott Holtzman, so I don't hold that SDEC over him whatsoever. He looked really good against a primary boxer in Hot Sauce Holtzman, the former hockey player, and that sets him up well against a primary boxer. And I know Garcia's gotten some shine, even in his fight against Jesse Ronson with his own takedowns, and he's really rounded himself out, and that lends a lot of credence to the fact that Rafa Garcia is the guy that you bring in when you're a very high-level MMA fighter, a prodigy or protege of one Cub Swanson. But for Garcia, continues to get better. Onyx Sports with Justin Gaethje, trained a little bit out of Elevation, and of course Ruka Sport. Garcia's continued to get better. I mean, out of his 5 win, he's 3-5. 3-2. Guida's 3-2 as well. But Guida could have some of those answers with his herky-jerkiness against a guy like Rafa Garcia.
You don't win a lot of fights based on herky-jerkiness on the outside. And
unless you're Ben Rothwell.
But he threw, like, devastating strikes on the in-betweens, at least, when he was really good. Clay Guida at this stage of his career is, hey, if you don't finish me, I'm going to be active enough to at least make the fight interesting by the end of it. But Guida doesn't necessarily have the same strength behind a lot of his takedowns that he initially did. He still has good output on the feet. That's not really something that has diminished. But a lot of fighters don't go in there with the fear that Clay Guida is really going to hurt them and clip them on the feet. Now, he was able to hurt Jim Miller for a brief period of time before Jim Miller, hurt him and then finished him right after. But I just think stylistically, this is a weird fight for a guy in Clay Guida's spot, because you bring up the Scott Holtzman fight. That's a perfect fight for a guy like Clay Guida, right? Holtzman had announced that's going to be my last fight in the UFC. Clay Guida's a guy in his 41st season, like you said, and he's near the end of his career, right? If he's
already a Hall of Famer, is Clay Guida.
He's been around and done that. So for Guida, I like him in those kind of matchups with those other sort of well-established veterans. And not that Rafa Garcia is some unknown commodity at this stage of his career. I just feel like he's sort of in a different lane right now than Clay Guida, because Rafa Garcia, 2 or 3 fights from now, could be fighting guys who are borderline ranked. And I know the lightweight division is very deep, so it's going to take 3 or 4 really impressive performances, but still, there is a path for Rafa Garcia to get to a somewhat good level in this division. And I just don't know what a win over Clay Guida really does to him for this stage of his career.
Clay Guida, 2006 Strikeforce lightweight champ. Who'd he beat, Matt? A guest man with Bellator, Josh Thompson. That's who he beat. 2009 Fight of the Year in the Ultimate Fighter finale against Diego Sanchez. So he's in the UFC's Hall of Fame in the fight wing. And when you look at it for Guida, he holds a lot of all-time UFC records. Tied 4th all-time with Jeremy Stevens. 34 UFC fights, 3rd in control time. And 3rd all-time in takedowns at 76. Merab Dvalishvili, 2 takedowns away from taking that record from Clay Guida. But when I look at this fight, Matt, for Rafa Garcia, pushes forward, throws boxing combinations, and will aggressively wrestle, and it looks like his gas tank's improved. But if Rafa Garcia goes out there, makes lightweight on Friday, and then decides on Saturday, hey, I'm feeling good about myself, I'm going to go into the pool, I'm going to cannonball. And as Rafa gets out of the pool, and he's just getting the water out of his nose and the water out of his eyes, and the chlorine's still getting to him, and he surfaces and he opens his eyes. Do you think he has flashbacks when he looks at Clay Guida with the beard and the hair and goes, oh my god, that's Chris Gritzmacher. Oh my gosh, I get tired in that fight. I hope that doesn't happen in this one, and then it plays a mind game on him and a trick?
You were dedicated to that bit. No, I don't think he will.
Okay, that's fair enough. Matt, Rafa Garcia is a pretty big favorite in the matchup.
It is a weird... Again, like, if Tony Ferguson fought Clay Guida, I'd be more in favor of that right now than Rafa Garcia. Just because Tony Ferguson, for where he is in his career, a win and a loss to Clay Guida doesn't do anything for either one of those guys.
Rafa Garcia looked good against a young, long-range striker in Mahashata, where the takedown was there, the boxing was there. We have a look at the Topology vote. Surprised us there to you. I'm not even going to make... That's kind of a surprise, though. So, 1,061 total votes. 72% Garcia, 77% by decision for the 83% that have Guida 28% by decision. I have Rafa Garcia by decision. That's the least hot take. That's kind of a cold one if I do say so myself. I have Garcia in this one because I think he can be active and land with more powerful shots in this fight. Guida does a lot of work from the outside and he throws a lot at you. Kind of like what Michelle Waterson Gomez did last weekend against Pinedo.
And also, you'll be nervous when it goes to decision against a guy like Clay Guida because exactly, like, if he doesn't get finished, he does so much. Like, you're going to be defending takedowns, defending strikes, landing your own. There's just going to be a lot of activity throughout the fight, so I couldn't agree more. I have Rafa Garcia, and it probably will go late, but I'm not going to feel all that confident in Rafa Garcia in that third round because we've seen Clay Guida not only get tested, but get tested late in so many fights against high-level opposition that we know he's going to make a great account of himself.
It's a tricky one. Both of us going with gifted Rafa Garcia. Let us know down below in the comments section who you have. Some big-time fights coming up on the main card. You're not going to want to miss it. Keep locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say.
Let's get into it.